Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, how are you, Derek?
Doing wonderful, wonderful. We have this excellent bottle of Faust Cabernet from Napa Valley, 2014. It's a medium body drink, wonderful with any meal.
All right.
Pour you a little sample here to taste.
All right. Thank you, Derek.
What you think?
Very good.
Good?
Very good. I think I would like a little bit more. That's what I think.
May I pour you some?
Absolutely.
When someone asks me, who's the best NFL player who's come out of San Antonio? It's a short list.
Who's on the list? I'm curious.
You know who's on the list.
Well, I know who was my seniors.
Right,
you know,
right.
For me at least, it would be like, the Twins.
Right
and,
near the top of the list.
Johnny
not
Walker.
At the top.
Those were the guys that I remember.
Is a guy named Priest Holmes. And I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard that. Just when you reflect back and you look at what you were able to do in the league, do you still have to pinch yourself?
The only chance I get really an opportunity to see anything that I've done in the league is when I go and I speak to kids at high schools and they have like that 2 or 3 minute video that they show. It's a clip of me scoring touchdowns, something that they've probably gotten off of YouTube. And I'm up there and I'm like watching it as I'm getting ready to go out and talk to the students. And then that's when it usually hits me. It's like, wow, I actually did some pretty amazing things on the field. And for me, the biggest thing that's always stood out to me was crossing that goal line. So whenever I could do that, I knew I was doing my job.
Priest, when you look back at 2003, 2004, 2005, that run you had with the Chiefs, and I always joke, everybody nowadays loves fantasy football. Back then, fantasy football was more or less like in its infancy stages, right? Sure. But if you had Priest Holmes on your fantasy football team from 03 to 05, you were winning a title.
For the most part, I actually had a chance to meet 2 gentlemen that was in Vegas. And for whatever reason, this was actually a little bit after the fact that they had actually won their pot or whatever it was that you win from playing fantasy football. And somehow I was doing an event in Vegas. We happened to be in the same hotel. We were actually in the lobby passing each other. They were wondering why there were these Kansas City jerseys around me because I was actually there for an event. And sure enough, they came up to me and they were like, Priest, you got to sign something for me. You won't believe how much money you won me, a few years ago. So it was kind of cool. Although at that time, fantasy football, we couldn't participate in it, in the NFL at that time, and we were restricted from playing it or being involved in it in any way. And now you have star players that actually have teams that they run now.
When I asked about the fantasy football, it was really a joking way to get to just how good you were from 03 to 05. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say, look at your numbers from 03 to 05. I don't know if a running back in NFL history ever, period, has enjoyed as good a 3-year run. Maybe as good. I don't know if anybody's been better for a 3-year span than what you're able to do from 03 to 05. I mean, the stats are just, you look at the numbers, touchdowns, yards, everything put together, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. One of the stats that really stands out to me is the amount of times that I fumbled in the league.
Of course, you go to the things that didn't go so well.
Yeah,
That's the one thing
and I go to that particular stat because, I had an opportunity for that to be brought to my attention just here this week. And I believe it was for my career 13 fumbles. And for me, that's huge. That's just a huge feat just to see that when you look at the number of years I was playing, you would see by my name 1 year, 1 fumble. The next year, only 2 fumbles. The next year, no fumbles. You know what I mean? So, and the highest total that I've ever had in one season was 4 fumbles, which for me, you can't do that. That's something you cannot do. But knowing that I have a stat like that, and I believe I might be number 2 in terms of the number of times that I've ran the ball, the number of games that I've played in, and based on that list, I believe there's only one individual that's before me, and he might have played in the 60s. So, that's something that's really dear to my heart because I know growing up here on the south side of San Antonio that, protecting that rock was so important, and that's what really made you a running back at the end of the day. If you could hold on to that ball and you could produce.
First thing you got to do is take the shrimp. Try the shrimp there. You mentioned the current Chiefs. How often do you keep in contact? As much as you're San Antonio, I got to imagine there's a big part of you that's still in Kansas City. So how big a part are you still of the franchise, and especially this year with the kind of start that they got off to?
You know, I'm always excited to give back to Kansas City. And so one of the areas that they do is they have me come back in, generally right around the draft time. I get a chance to go back and talk to the young draftees that are coming in, the rookies. And even this year, I had a chance to speak to them, and it was like they're real receptive, because one thing, you know, it's authentic. You know, I had a chance to play 11 years in the league, 4 years with Baltimore, 7 years with Kansas City. So the things that I'm stressing and the points, the bullet points that I'm giving them, it really is just for their betterment to say, hey, I don't care what he's about to say. I'm just going to listen to him, because there's something that he's going to be able to talk about that's going to be where I'm at in my life. And I try to meet the guys, you know, halfway there to where they're at in their experience. And because being a rookie in the league, it's a very tough position to be in, because you have so much information getting ready to come at you. And you have to be a professional, and you have to remember these are kids that just was in college, you know what I mean? And some of them not always as mature as the next person, so it's a lot of information that they have to put on their shoulders. You know, I talked about earlier off camera that, you know, there's some modifications that I've had to make, some lifestyle changes I've had to make, which have been very important to me. You know, I retired at age 35. Believe it or not, when I retired at 35, I told myself, at age 45, is when you're gonna really retire. That's when you're gonna stop, you know, hustling, bustling, trying to do deals, and you're just gonna retire and enjoy life. Well, I didn't do that initially. You know, I came right to San Antonio. I started meeting politicians. I was down at the courthouse. I was getting involved. I had my foundation taken off. We were giving out scholarships. And I was so excited about being moving and shaking in San Antonio that I kind of lost sight of what it was I had said that I would do eventually when I turned 45. Well, on October 7th this year, I turned 44. And so I was sitting there thinking on that Saturday, and I said, you know what? I know I gave myself a goal at 45. I was gonna, you know, call it stop on everything I'm doing. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna move up. I'm gonna move up that date. So instead of waiting till 45, why not just do it at 44? And I said I had to also kind of give myself forgiveness. I always talk about this. And the reason why I say that is because there were things that I continued to kind of like seek and try to be a part of, because I felt like I was trying to also replace that, not scoring those touchdowns, you know, replacing that high. And so I finally had to decide, like, you know, what is it that I want? So there was 5 areas that I came up with that is me. When you think of, if you're walking down the street and someone was to mention my name, you could say, no, I know 5 things about this guy that is him. And it's gonna be him for the rest of his life. And I'm so excited that I discovered those 5 things.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You gonna fill us in, the 5 things?
I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked. What were those 5 things?
You teed me up. You know how to ask. It's part of the job.